please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Lockdown and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, we are back again for another off-season recap video, and today we're going to be looking at the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks have had a fairly quiet off-season, but they're in a position where they're trying to be patient and let a lot of their younger players and prospects develop before they go out and make any big moves. So I think it's not surprising that they were as quiet as they were in free agency and just most of the offseason this year. Obviously, the big win this offseason for Anaheim was the NHL draft. They had a phenomenal draft, including their 2 first-round picks, Jamie Drysdale and Jacob Perreault. Love both of those picks where they were selected and think that those guys could really have a big impact on the team going forward. So before we fully get into it, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't yet. Both of those things help out a lot and are much appreciated. As I was saying with Anaheim, they haven't made the playoffs the past couple of years. They're kind of in a retooling stage right now. They were a good team for a long, long time, and they were always a contender, always in the playoffs, but that core group got old, and the cup window closed. And Anaheim's at a point now where they've been kind of on the decline for the past couple of years, and now they're kind of in that rebuild, retooling mode. It's hard to call it a complete rebuild because there's some good pieces there that they're going to be keeping and building around, but it is very much a retooling right now in Anaheim, and I think they want it to be rather quickly. They have one of the best goalies in the league in John Gibson, but nobody talks about him because the team hasn't been good for the past couple of years. But when John Gibson's healthy, he's one of the best goalies in the NHL, and they're good in goal with him. They've got some good pieces on the back end. They just added to that. They've got some solid young forwards up front. They just got to kind of figure out the rest of the retool, and it's probably going to take another year or two, but then you should see them back on the rise, ascending in the standings again. So if we look at their moves this offseason, they've been very, very patient, and I think that's a smart thing to do. They're not in a position to be going out and getting big name free agents and spending all this money on big name guys and the biggest fish in the free agent market when, they're really much more in a position to be letting their young players develop, see what they have in a lot of these prospects, and wait for them to be NHL ready and get to the NHL level. The biggest move, the addition that they made in free agency was Kevin Shattenkirk, veteran defenseman who just won a Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that's a good, solid move to bring in a veteran guy like that, who obviously just won a cup. He had some abysmal time with the New York Rangers, but then his career kind of got a shot in the arm and was rejuvenated last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like on Anaheim, but they needed some help defensively, and I think Shattenkirk is going to help. Derek Grant, depth forward, real good character guy, real good locker room guy. I believe this is now Grant's 3rd stint with the Ducks. He started last season with the Ducks, got traded to Philadelphia at the trade deadline for Philadelphia's playoff run, and then just went back and re-signed with the Ducks this offseason. So Derek Grant's a familiar face and a good character bottom 6 guy to have in that lineup. And then obviously the 2 big first-round draft picks that I talked about. Jamie Drysdale at 6 overall, Jacob Perreault later in the first round. Both guys that have the chance, particularly Drysdale, to be franchise-changing players. And Jacob Perreault, he slipped a little in the draft because of consistency issues, but the talent is there for him to be a very good goal scorer. I think, he's a right winger who could, at his best, score 30, 35 goals a year. Does he ever reach that level? That's kind of the question with him because he has had some consistency problems. And sometimes he's really on, sometimes he's really off. But if they can get the best out of Jacob Perreault, he could end up being a late-round steal. Maybe even similar to the way David Pastrnak was for the Bruins, going late in the first round and now one of the top goal scorers in the league. When we move over to subtractions, it was basically all depth that moved on. Ryan Miller, backup goaltender. Miller's got to be 39, 40 years old at this point. Michael Del Zotto, depth defenseman. Matt Irwin, depth defenseman. Kiefer Sherwood, guy that never really worked out all that well at the NHL level. And they just did not qualify him. He was an RFA. So really only depth pieces going out of Anaheim. Obviously, they made a bunch of trades last year, so that got rid of some of those pieces that also could have been on their way out, but they ended up trading them. Not much left in free agency other than depth guys. And again, obviously their 2 draft picks were big additions, but the only real big free agent they got was Kevin Shattenkirk. And even then, that was kind of just a veteran move for a guy to help shore up the back end a little bit. So as we see with Anaheim here, that they haven't done a ton, and they weren't expected to do a ton. They're kind of at a crossroads right now. The Anaheim Ducks are a team that are at a crossroads right now. They kind of are just trying to figure out what they have with a lot of their younger players. They've got some really good prospects in the prospect pool now. They had a tremendous draft this year. It's about being patient now. It's about letting these guys develop and wait until they're ready to make an impact at the NHL level. You can't rush development. If you do, bad things are going to happen. We see that time and time again. But, they're not going to go out and be bringing in, Taylor Hall or, Torrey Krug or these big money free agents, because they're not in a position to compete yet right now. I still think they're a year or 2 away. I really don't think they're going to even have much of a shot at making the playoffs this season. They're going to be waiting for Drysdale. They're going to be waiting for Trevor Zegras. They're going to be waiting for Perreault. They're going to be waiting for, a lot of these younger guys that they have. They have Sam Steele, who's seen some NHL action. They've got Troy Terry. It's like, once these guys really solidify themselves at the NHL level, I think that's when you're going to see Anaheim kind of make that swing back up. And it's all about the prospects with them. And once they start that incline again, once they start getting better and rising in the standings a little bit, that's when you go out and start making moves to put maybe some bigger name guys around these young players. And maybe you go out and get a big free agent and try and, move that along a little bit. But for right now, it's about patience with the Anaheim Ducks. It's about development. It's about young players making that jump when they're ready to the NHL level, and then trying to get the most out of them at the NHL level. Trevor Zegras, I am extremely high on. I watched that kid at Boston University, and I think he's going to be an absolute superstar in the NHL. I think he's a tremendous playmaker. I think Perreault has a lot of upwards potential. It's just a matter of, does he reach it or not? And Jamie Drysdale, I mean, most people had him as the best defenseman in this draft. Sanderson ended up getting picked before him, but most people had Drysdale ranked as the top D-man in this 2020 draft. So they've got some really good young talent. And there's more, Max Comtois and other players that have had some time there already, who are still young and just finding their legs at the NHL level. So it's about patience with Anaheim. You're not going to see them making big splash moves, I don't think. They're just kind of waiting on these young players to be ready, and then see what they've got with the young talent that they've acquired over the past couple of years. So that's the Anaheim Ducks. With that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our Patreon merchandise store and donation link are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the NHL. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.